Hello, everyone. The March 15th, 2022 interim meeting and public participation meeting of the Board of Education is called to order. Ms. Bowie, will you please call the roll?
Good afternoon. Ms. Craybill?
Here.
Ms. Adams? Mr. Boyer?
Here.
Ms. Justice?
Here.
Mr. McManus?
Here.
Ms. Walker? And Mr. Wildebohr?
Present.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to the New Hanover County Board of Education's March interim meeting and the public participation meeting. Thank you for joining us in person or in the viewing audience. We value and appreciate your interest, participation, and advocacy on behalf of the New Hanover County students and staff. I would like to call to your attention tonight that we are having a little bit of technical difficulty. The most obvious is that the screen to my left, the viewer's right, is not working. Please bear with us as we work through some of the issues. Before we vote on the agenda tonight, I would like to acknowledge that March is National Social Workers Month. And I want to give a huge shout out to all the hardworking, multitasking, and dedicated social workers that we have working for us in New Hanover County Schools. Thank you for being the glue that has been working tirelessly to hold our students and fellow staff members together. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Mr. Boyer, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. McManus. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, agenda is approved. Next, is there a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the items listed on the screen and in assembly?
Move for closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Justice. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, we are in closed session. Okay, welcome back. Next on our agenda is new business. First up is the 2021-2022 summer programs plan. And that is, hold on. Who's that person? Sorry. Oh, that's you. No?
It's her.
Who's taking that? You? Your name is on here.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm looking right at you. I'm so sorry.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kimberly Fullard, and I am coming to you to talk about our summer learning program that we are doing this semester. I am helping coordinate that program, so I just wanted to come and get board approval of our plan so we can get it sent over to DPI. Just a couple of things. The reason that we are doing summer learning, again, is just to help with that high-quality face-to-face learning, to help mitigate some of that academic loss that our students are showing. We are going to do our summer learning program this year. It's going to be shorter than it was last year. This year we are going to do the end of June. The dates vary by our calendar year. Traditional, they will start on June 13th. Our restart will start on June 17th, and restart will start on June 16th. And those calendar and students, they will go through June 30th and July 1st. And then any testing that goes along with those students, whether it's the RTA testing or EOC testing for for high schoolers, that will happen on the last 3 days of our summer learning experience. So I just need board approval for our plan so we can send it to DPI. And that is all I have for you this evening.
Is there a motion to accept the plan that Ms. Fullard has presented to us?
So moved.
Ms. Justice first.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wildeboer. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is approved, 5-0. Thank you
you.
for your time.
Thank you.
Next up is Dr. Barnes is coming to talk to us about Esser funds for Math 1 tutors.
Good afternoon. One of the major gateway courses that we look for success in kids in high school is the completion of and successful completion of Math 1. This is a significant area for the need for tutors, and we are struggling to find adequate tutoring models for our Math 1 students. So what we'd like to do is insert a line in our tutoring salary schedule to offer a $30 an hour stipend for math tutors who are coming to us externally from outside the district. Those math tutors would take an entrance exam. We would provide them to make sure that they had the appropriate skills and knowledge necessary to teach the class, or to tutor the information, in subject matter. Since we're using Esser funds to pay for it, it will not be, it will be a zero line item in our local budget.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept Dr. Barnes' proposal for the Esser funds for Math 1 tutors?
So moved.
Mr. Boyer first, made a motion, second.
Second.
Mr. Wildeboer, is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is Memorandum of Understanding between New Hanover County Schools and Novant Health. Now, is that you?
No.
Oh, here she comes.
Board Chairperson Crable, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Faust, good evening. I present to you a memorandum of understanding between Novant Health and New Hanover County Schools for your approval.
Does anybody have a question? Or, Ms. Justice?
Okay, could you give a quick overview of what the...
Sure.
Yeah.
This memorandum of understanding will be for students to rotate for an observational, clinical, and/or non-clinical educational experience.
Thank you.
Is this kind of what our allied health students are doing at the nursing homes currently?
Yes.
Okay, will it
Yes.
replace that, or is it in addition to?
It will expand that. It also, right now we're doing it because one particular school is closer than others, but we're looking to expand it. As a matter of fact, Novant is looking at other areas that's closer to all of our schools.
I think it's a wonderful opportunity to get some real live nursing experience. So in the MOU, I noticed that there are some things in red, like letter K.
Yes.
About what they agree to. What is the difference between red and black? I know it's usually an addition, but I don't think we've seen this before.
Yes, this actually is the red line document. It is actually in legal at Novant, so they're reviewing it. Our legal team has taken a look at it, and so they're looking at this as well, and I was in contact with them today, and it's in legal as we speak.
Okay. And I had one other question about this. So it's my understanding that Novant Health requires that their employees have COVID vaccines. Is that true?
Yes, on page 3, I believe, 3 and 4, you will see a list of the requirements. Basically what it says on page 4 at letter E is that we have to follow all of the CDC basically guidelines, all of the COVID guidelines, TB guidelines. So they will have to follow all of those, and that's also required at the skilled nursing facilities.
And that's happening right now?
What, at the skilled nursing facilities? Yeah. Oh, yes, if the nursing facilities say, and they did say, that all of our students need to be vaccinated before they can come. Of course, that's for our students' protection.
I understand that.
Yes.
My only question is, what happens if a student does not want to get a vaccine and yet they want to participate in their program? Are they excluded?
No, they're not excluded. Those students, the state has, because of COVID and because of the pandemic, the state has said that in the classroom, the teacher can set that up as well as just like a clinical site, and they can receive their skill training within the classroom.
Okay,
so
and not
all
go
students
on
would be, yes, so either way, students can still get their
Okay.
clinical experience.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the MOU?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. McManus, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank
All
you
right,
very
thank
much
you.
for
Have a
setting
great
that up.
evening.
That's a wonderful opportunity. Okay, moving right along into, next will be the final item on our agenda is the public participation portion. We will follow the same protocols as we do with call to the audience during regular board, except that speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. As a reminder, audience members are not allowed to approach the dais at any time. If you have information to share with the board, then you need to give it to our board clerk, Ms. Bowie, over there. As another reminder, we need to treat each other with dignity and respect throughout the meeting, no matter what your thoughts and feelings are about an issue or even a particular person or group, so that the board can remain focused on completing its governance work necessary for the student, staff, and schools to be successful. Disruptions will not be tolerated, and people disrupting will be asked to leave. If this happens, the meeting can be viewed via live stream on New Hanover County Schools TV and on the New Hanover County Schools YouTube channel. This portion of the meeting lasts up to, but no longer than, 2 hours. All right, so, and you can see your time clock up there. First up on our agenda is Donna M. Garrett. Okay. Next up is Peter Rowich.
First, let's start off with some good news. Ms. Justice, Ms. Walker, and Mr. Wildeboer deserve a big thank you for voting 2 weeks ago to keep our 4, 5, 6, and 7-year-old children in school and for not kicking them out for being disrespectful, using inappropriate language, or insubordination. You understand that principals can still suspend students for serious violations, such as guns, drugs, or a violent assault. You also understand that Policy 4300 can be changed now and implemented at the beginning of the 2022-23 school year. So thank you for bringing some humanity back to the board. Next, for even better news, here is your data. These are the number of out-of-school suspensions for the first half of this school year. Look at all of the zeros, ones, and twos. The orange shows who received Behavior Leadership Foundation training. The yellow are exemplary schools. The white ones are the schools that have not received training yet. Wow. There were over 850 elementary out-of-school suspensions during the 2018-2019 school year. For the first half of this year, there's only 81. That's over a 90% reduction in out-of-school suspensions. The district has a plan, and it's working. The principals and their staff have done an amazing job. They've made some important changes, and they have been very successful. I brought in some certificates that you can present to them. If any of the principals or educators are here this evening, well, they certainly deserve a round of applause. Stop the false narrative that principals are saying they need to be able to suspend 4, 5, 6, and 7-year-olds for minor infractions. Stop the false narrative that teachers don't know what to do. Stop the false narrative that we need to wait another year or so to change Policy 4300. The data tells the true story. Read it. And it's never too late to bring humanity back to the board. Do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Next on our agenda is Natasha Tu.
See my time, Chris. Just switching times, so she's going to switch because I have
Switching the
somewhere to
order?
be. If that's okay with you, switching, cool. Okay. My name is Chris Sutton. Realistically, I'm here to talk about this town hall, or lack of. Something, I went back and reviewed all the videotapes. Mr. Bollier, Mr. Wildeboer, both of y'all made comments that were aligned, that honestly I agreed with, that we need a town hall, and we need to have an ability to come up here. I should be able to ask y'all questions and get answers, simple things. Like, for instance, I just resolved an issue with some of the administrative staff on the side before this meeting started, just because I was able to ask questions and have them answered. It's amazing what we can resolve through communication. Unfortunately, what's going on today is not what y'all discussed. It's not what y'all voted on. This was supposed to be one single item to this, and it was supposed to be call to audience or town hall, whatever it may be. Realistically, I believe the board needs to go back and have a look at this policy and amend it. We need the board to go ahead and outline exactly what this needs to be as far as the town hall, because the community really does deserve it, and we need an opportunity to have that conversation with y'all. Something else that I want to go ahead and breach this conversation, the sexual assault victims. I know that y'all are watching these cases. I mean, realistically, raise your hand. Did any board members actually watch it all? Can anybody? That's what I thought. And like, it's one of those things where it's frustrating, because this is personal to me. And what we're doing is dragging these victims through the mud again. And while I understand that that attorney is also the insurance's attorney and that they have to do what's best for them, we didn't have to have her as the school board attorney, and it's rearing its ugly head. Right now, there's a lot of questions we could be asking as far as what's best for our district, and we don't even have an attorney that can answer those questions. I mean, legitimately. Like, for instance, if we asked our attorney right now, hey, would it have been better for our case to make a motion, if we held a vote to motion to have a continuance on that case, because we're in a lawsuit with Liberty Mutual. It was best for our district to try to have that continued until we resolve that lawsuit with Liberty Mutual. Because right now, we don't even know how much of a policy we currently have. Whether it's a few million, 30 million, we do not know. That's what I mean by having someone that their only sole responsibility is to the board. We do not have that. Right now, really think about this. Liberty Mutual's attorney, that they are paying this attorney that has loyalty to Liberty Mutual, controls every facet of a public records request. One of my public records requests was for 1 week of emails. It took 9 months for me to get back 3 Google Calendar invites and say that everything else is not privileged. It's privileged information. You cannot have it. That is wrong. They're stifling, obstructing, and impeding. we really need to focus back on getting another board attorney in here. I really hope y'all do that. And again, I hope y'all amend this policy and actually outline what a town hall is. Thank y'all. I'm headed to go
Thank
censure.
you. Your time is up.
Yep.
Next up is Alicia Ogundelli.
Good afternoon. On behalf of Love Our Children, I would like to publicly say, thank you. I would like to publicly say thank you to Ms. Justice, Ms. Walker, and Mr. Wildebohr for supporting the end out-of-school suspension for 4, 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, except for guns, drugs, and violent assault. The superintendent and the other board members, your discussion of out-of-school suspensions was very disappointing, to say the least. You didn't ask the important questions, you didn't analyze your own data, and you misrepresented what Love Our Children has been advocating for 12 months. Dr. Faust said, if you take away all options, they won't know what to do. We have never asked for all options to be taken away. Principals should still have the authority to suspend children for bringing guns or drugs to school or committing a violent assault. We want to end the option to kicking out our youngest learners out of school for being disrespectful or using inappropriate language or insubordination, which means not following the teacher's instructions. Our goal is not to have 0 suspension. Our goal is to make 4, 5, 6, and 7-year-olds not being suspended for minor infractions of the student code of conduct. Even 4, 5, 6, and 7-year-olds know that 1 + 1 = 2. This is not rocket science here. Look at your own data. Your elementary principals and staff are doing an excellent job. Changing the policies and implementing it at the beginning of the new school year is an achievable goal. Thank you.
Good evening. For the 30 years that I taught in Hanover County, every year we had a mandatory safety workshop. This included information on what to do if we suspected a child was being abused, was suicidal, cutting themselves, and so on. How to conduct fire drills, lockdowns, tornado drills, evacuations, everything to keep the kids safe. Last week, listening to the legal hearing concerning Mike Kelly's victims, I learned from your attorney, Mrs. Stagner, quote, "The school district does not have a fiduciary duty or legal obligation to protect its students while they are at school," end quote. And, also quote, "Public schools are not insurers of their students' safety," end quote. Since Mrs. Stagner is representing you, I have to assume that you agree with her statements in court. This is shameful. I am also extremely disappointed in this board's attitude, or most of this board's attitude, toward the public. We elected you. We expect a few basic things. The most basic is that you listen and respond to us. Answering emails in a timely fashion would be nice. Actually responding to the content of the emails would be better. Tonight is supposed to be a town hall. Generally, town hall meetings involve conversation. Instead, we get an extended call to audience with a clock running to keep the total time under 2 hours. By first limiting speakers to 3 minutes, then adding that continually running shot clock, you have created a very powerful defense strategy. You confirm that you do not want to hear us. We are obviously a waste of your time. Our youngest learners are still being suspended and confined in torture rooms. Now we learn you're not responsible for their safety either. There need to be some major changes in the priorities of this board. Start doing what is right for the children, not your political agendas.
Thank you, Ms. Posey. Next up, Loretta Stackhouse. Loretta?
Two weeks ago, Ms. Adams said, I agree with Love Our Children. I think that the suspensions for 4 to K to second grade are sometimes we need to move away from. That's not completely accurate. Love Our Children is advocating for the end of out-of-school suspensions for 4, 5, 6, and 7-year-olds for minor infractions. Principals could still suspend students for guns, drugs, or violent assault. She also said, our educators need resources. That's not completely accurate. Your data shows 14 elementary schools had 2 or less out-of-school suspensions for the first half of this school year. There are only 3 schools that have not had the Behavior Leadership Foundation training that had more than 2 suspensions. They may need some resources. Ms. Adams cited 2 examples of violent assaults in school, suggesting that that is a reason for not changing Policy 4300. That does not make sense. Throwing a chair across a room or a fight where blood is drawn are both cases where a principal could suspend a child from school. Finally, she said, I would rather do this than rush to change something and then we have to go back on it. That is not what policies are for. You set high expectations to keep our youngest learners in school with 3 serious exceptions so that you do not have to go back on it. Thank you, Ms. Justice, Ms. Walker, and Mr. Whittleborough, for your support of changing Policy 4300 and supporting Love Our Children. We have been coming here for months, different groups with different issues. You have not paid attention. We tried to support you with everything you were doing. Well, we are now going to show you that we're going to use our options and our energies to remove you from the board. We are voters, we have neighbors, friends, church members, and other constituents in this county. We have an option by November to remove 4 of you, and the rest of you, we're coming for you too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sacco. Barbara Guerra.
I came here to talk about 2 items that have to do with out-of-school suspensions for 4, 5, 6, and 7-year-old children. First, for over a year, Love Our Children has not advocated for removing out-of-school suspensions in circumstances where guns, drugs, or violent behavior occur, like the example of throwing a chair across the room in a 2nd grade classroom that was brought up last meeting. Out-of-school suspensions may be appropriate in these type circumstances when there are not appropriate support personnel to help the teacher and the student and protect others in the classroom. The word suspension is not the problem. It is the need that the policy would put in place to help the youngest students be successful in school, give all students a safe haven, and set expectations for appropriate behavior in school. My second point is to ask you to please absorb the data that has been presented to you by your own school staff. We commend the work that has been done in schools with the traditionally highest suspension rates. It is clear that suspensions have dramatically decreased with this effort. It is also clear that most of the other schools have already extremely low suspension rates. The conclusion being is that those schools would have little trouble in following the policy we advocate, and that you almost passed at your February meeting. Thank you, Mr. Wildeboer, Ms. Justice, and Ms. Stephanie Walker for taking the time to understand the work your administration's been doing and realizing it is now time to pass an amended behavior for 4, 5, 6, and 7-year-old children in time for the upcoming school year. There is a plan. It is working, and it is time to amend the current policy for the youngest learners. Thank you for
Ms.
listening.
Garrow. Next up, Veronica McLaurin-Brown.
Last Thursday, I attended Coastal Horizons annual luncheon. Elizabeth Smart was the guest speaker. She talked about being raped every day multiple times while in captivity. She mentioned that her friend had been abused and still struggles to get 3 hours of sleep a night. Her words made me think deeply about our school system's sexual assault cases. It is a horrible story of decades of cover-ups of sexual assaults in the New Hanover County school system. Sexual assault victims and their families continue to be re-traumatized by the legal process. Show some empathy. Demonstrate your humanity. Make minimizing the trauma to past victims and their families a priority. Make minimizing the trauma to the past victims and their families a priority. Settling the lawsuits are long overdue. We should also invite sexual victims to be part of the process of making sure that these crimes never happen again. Put yourself in their shoes, feel their pain, and think, there but for the grace of God go I. There but for the grace of God go my child. There but for the grace of God go my grandchild. Put yourselves in their shoes. It is time for the New Hanover County school system to take responsibility and to be accountable for its past failure to protect our children. Settle this case. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Next up, Natasha Tu.
It's been 165 days since I got a call from my daughter in tears telling me that she was getting kicked out of New Hanover County School for not wearing her mask appropriately. That has been a long, long ride since then, and a lot has been learned. What I've learned is there is no accountability or transparency in this school board, and us parents are coming together because of that. With that being said, we learned tonight of a statement by your attorney saying that the safety of our children, it's not the school board, that you're not insured for that, or you're not the insurers of our children's safety. Well, why was the whole COVID mask mandate put in place then? I thought it was for the safety of the kids. But your attorney's saying that's not the case. Once again, conflicting stories, nothing new. Nothing new. One day, Mr. Faust, Dr. Faust, you'll look me in the eye when I'm talking to you. Maybe not today, but one day. What we've learned since the beginning of, I guess, the whole COVID, and especially in the past few weeks, through the recently released documents from Pfizer, is that the first 90 days, over 1,200 people died from this vaccine. In Virginia, before students are even allowed to participate in sports, doctors are requiring them to get an EKG. Ask yourself why. 21,000 cases of myocarditis have been reported in the United States this year alone. Please think about whatever you do before mandating a vaccine for a virus as a 99.97% chance of surviving. You'd have no idea the consequences of the decisions that you'll make. Please think that through. Also keep in mind, masks have caused 362% increase in delayed developmental speech. 362% in our elementary kids. CDC has even revised their milestones because of the effects of wearing masks. It's on their website. I'm here tonight to deliver the last final warning, denial of civil rights to you. I'm not going to approach the bench, but I'm sure we'll see each other out, committees, in public somewhere. It's not just me you're going to have to answer to. It's all these parents, all the kids, and the future generations to come.
Thank you, Ms. Chu. Up next, we have Michael Fox. Is Michael Fox here? Okay. Next up, Dorian Cromartie.
Good evening. Thank you for having this extended call to the audience. I am happy about that. But today I'm here to talk to you about the fact that in the news today we were ranked North Carolina 42 out of 50 states when it comes to youth mental health. 42 out of 50, which means we need more mental health professionals for our children. We need more school counselors, we need more social workers, but it is my understanding that we are overstaffed as of now. That's what I was told. But we need more for our children. We need less seclusion rooms, we need less suspensions, we need more for our children. We all here know that the money is there to provide for these children. We know that these children face social problems that none of us may not see, but yet they come to school and they want to learn with something on their mind that is going on at home. An extra social worker, an extra counselor, a teacher that can let a student know that they are loved and appreciated can help. An extra TA can help. But we have to make that a priority. We have to make it a priority. We have to be willing and able to say, hey, let's pay these people a livable and respectable wage to get them in the classroom to talk to these students. The longer we prolong this, the worse it will get. It will be a next generation and a next generation and a next generation. Kids are in school for 8 hours a day, sometimes more with after-school activities. We can make this happen, but we have to set aside our differences and make it a priority. I don't understand why it's not a priority. Just today I heard that there was a class, well, 3 classes in a lunchroom because there weren't enough teachers in the school, because there weren't enough subs. 3 classrooms in a lunchroom being taught. We have to make this a priority. The longer we wait, the worse it'll get. You gotta put your politics aside and work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corey. Next up, Allison Birch-Bigler. Did I get that right? Sorry. I even had it spelled out. Sorry.
No, you're fine. My name is Allie. This is my first and last year teaching for New Hanover County Schools. Friday will be my last day as a 5th grade teacher at Williams Elementary. My heart is broken as I mourn a piece of me that for the past 5 years has been a huge part of my identity. You can't keep pouring from an empty cup, and my cup is empty. I didn't go into education to be a testing coordinator, data analyst, or political puppet. All the pressure of trying to balance so much at work and home was starting to affect my mental health. I was tired of making sub-plans and feeling guilty for taking off work because we are so understaffed. I was tired that there were never any real solutions to the problems that we've been facing. Giving teachers jeans passes and luncheons are not solutions. They are sad attempts to disguise a toxic work environment. I was tired of not feeling supported by administrators. I was tired of never feeling like I was doing my job right, with never-ending observations, walkthroughs, and passive-aggressive emails. I feel devastated, guilty, frustrated, nervous, and excited to start a new career path outside of education, but honestly, I feel one thing the most, and that's relief. Relief that I will no longer have to work myself to death for pennies, relief that I will no longer spend my Sundays fearing for what the upcoming work week will bring, and relief that I will never have to give standardized tests and use curriculum that I don't believe in. Relief that I will no longer be micromanaged by people who have never stepped foot in a Title I school. Relief that I will no longer have to be a part of the toxic positivity narrative that makes teachers feel like we need to make up for the shortcomings of our education system. I feel for all my fellow educators who are in the same boat as I am. I hope that you're able to make the right decision for you and find balance and joy in whatever you choose to do next. I hope that these out-of-touch administrators sitting here before me will understand what it does to an educator when they continue to add things to our never-ending plates. And I hope that more people in positions of power will advocate loudly for students and teachers. I hope that the state will step up and pay educators what they deserve and look at students as more than a test score or a number for funding. I hope that my students this year will know that I love them to the end of the earth and understand that they did nothing wrong. But most of all, I hope that our education system makes some changes very soon, or I'm afraid we will not have enough good educators left to teach our future generation. And on behalf of myself and my fellow educators, I would personally like to thank you, Judy Justice, for always advocating for students and teachers, no matter how much they may try to censor you.
Thank you, Ms. Okay, that concludes our call to the audience section. What? Yes. Mm-hmm.
I have been fortunate enough to have a well-rounded career that started in mental health and also landed me in a pre-K classroom and directing a private school. I want to be clear that restraint is a dangerous practice, so much so that mental health professionals have changed guidelines of these practices 15 years ago. I have also experienced extreme cases with individuals abruptly stopping medication, causing medical imbalances and violent behavior. I never restrained anyone. If I had, I would have escalated the situation, also becoming injured myself. There are better techniques to use to de-escalate a situation than putting your hands on someone, especially a child. It is actually the last thing you should ever do. As an administrator of a school, when my staff needed help, I came and assisted. Most of the time, it was me sitting in the class with a child. We didn't seclude these children. We used time in, a therapeutic technique that supports the child's social and emotional needs, right next to them. Sending a child away isn't helping a child cope or teach skills. Time is a method that I also taught foster parents during a trauma-informed training. The idea that we send any child during the school hours away to a padded room is more barbaric than practices I've seen working with severely mentally ill adults. The most effective and vulnerable in New Hanover County are our children with disabilities. These are the children that need additional support to not be locked in rooms. I ask the board to see the urgency to end these practices. Policies are changed throughout the U.S. every day when we recognize that there is a better way. Please don't use IEPs as an excuse to not change the policy, especially when we're not addressing the teacher shortage and many IEPs, including my daughter's, is out of compliance. It is a matter of the seclusion and restraints being legal. It's not a matter of seclusion and restraints being legal. It's a matter of best practices. Let's bring the best practices to our schools immediately to keep everybody safe. And let's only vote for school board members that will instill the best practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett. So I'm sorry I left someone who came in late. Michael Warner, is he here?
I'm going to change gears here a little bit. So many times we hear all the problems at the school board, and we have a lot of problems to solve. There's no question about that. But as Mark Twain said, for every complex problem, there's a well-noted answer, simple, rational, and wrong. So we always have to be careful. These are complex problems. I want to give a shout out, though, to all the teachers, the staff, and you folks, because I know you have put in unbelievable hours. Your meetings here are marathon sessions, and I know you make the big bucks for doing this, but also, you know, seriously, you put up with a lot of abuse. And I just want to say that it's an unselfish job that you end up doing, and a tough job. And I want to know that you know that I know and I appreciate what you're doing, because it is tough. And I know that in your hearts, you really do have the children's best interests at heart. And the problems like we've got today with the suspending young children, it's a complex problem. And I hope that we can all work this out. But I did want to say that long ago I learned working on many boards that board service is really, really tough. And someone once told me that on every board, there's at least one toxic personality that tends to undermine it. And I know that you've had your problems with one person who's had to be censured twice. And I hope that you can work through all of these issues and everybody work towards the benefit of all. And I just want to thank you for your service, the staff for working for their service, and all the teachers here, because you're the unsung heroes every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. All right, is there anybody else that signed up that I did not get their name? Okay, so that concludes our call to the audience part, the public participation part. Next is the announcements. The April regular board meeting will be held on Tuesday, April the 5th, beginning at 5 p.m., Board of Education Center. The Policy Committee will meet on Tuesday, April the 12th, 2022, beginning at 9 a.m. at the Board of Education Center. Next on our agenda is closed session. Do I hear a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we are in closed session. Pete, come up here so we can have 4. We don't have 4. Judy, Hugh, can you come up? Item on our agenda is adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned.